when tragedy hits, then the truth about what you really feel about God is revealed. Like, if you do everything right, then, you are supposed to have a comfortable life. And as much as I didn't want to believe that, I know that I did, because when tragedy hit enough, not like situations that you can handle. This situation I could not handle, and I did not lean on God. And it made me think that God is not good. That I'm not sure if he's good. I don't know anymore.
No. Let's go there.
So, like a really bad mom. Who, quote unquote, I'm tired of people in my race, so I need to find me somebody white. This is how I knew that Brian
Don't do it.
was going to be a great physical partner.
Don't tell them. Hey everyone, welcome to the Let's Get Deep podcast, where we have conversations about our lives that most people just would never. And for those of you that don't know, we have crazy, huge, exciting news. We are going to climb. I thought you were going to jump in there. We are going to climb Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania, Africa.
I am hoping that I am still climbing Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania, Africa.
Lexi's like still making decisions as we've already got the flights booked. We're already buying like all the gear.
It is concerning. I am still like, I'm mentally trying to prepare. It has been a real journey of me feeling like I can do it. One day I feel like I'm confident. The next day I feel like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? This is ridiculous. So, but it's for an amazing cause, and we love Compassion. You guys, if you have not checked them out, please check them out, because they are an amazing organization that really cares about the children that they are caring for. And they provide schooling, teaching, medical kits. They do so many things to help children all around the world. And if you feel led to just help people, to help a community, please sponsor a child. This is not a sponsored ad, but it is big on our hearts to tell people to reach outside of their community and help people that are in need. We're going to put the link in the bio, but definitely check it out.
We are not getting paid for this. We're not getting commission split of anything like that.
Yeah.
Every single dollar that you put towards this will go directly towards the children. And our goal is to get 100 sponsors before we go. So please be a part of this journey with us and just raise awareness and help people in need. Okay.
Yeah. But you guys pray for me, because I am really trying to get ready.
We're going to get there. We're going to get you there. Today we are having I guess we just call it a deep conversation.
Yeah. So I actually saw this clip on Instagram, and I had to show Brian because it really reflected where I was in this season. I will say one point that Jackie Hill Perry made was talking about how the Christian community can sometimes make it seem like infertility is your fault. Like you didn't pray enough, like you didn't fast enough. Did you talk to your spiritual leaders? Did you listen to everything that the Lord was telling you to do? And I love the affirmation and confirmation that infertility is not anybody's fault. Mm-hmm. This is not something that you get because you didn't pray enough. And there was a time where I felt like Christians around me during our infertility journey like really made me feel that way. I will also say that during our grief, when we had a baby naturally, for those of you who don't know, I'll put the link in bio for all of the stories that we shared about that. But it was really hard to understand why we didn't have that baby naturally. And when some of the Christians that we talked to were very much, God, this was a miracle, and you just need to pray more. You just need to make sure that you're, doing everything spiritually. And I'm like, well, I feel like I'm doing everything spiritually. So what happened?
Mm-hmm. I think that there is a very scary trait that Christianity has. Something I don't want to say Christianity, wrong word, sorry. That some Christians have. Yeah. Which is to, if you don't understand it, try to figure out a way to explain it away. Yeah. And I think that is universal across the concept of faith, the concept of miracles, the concept of healing, the concept of infertility. All of these things, people don't necessarily understand why it works sometimes and why it doesn't work other times. And then in that space of, I remember a sermon that Bill Johnson spoke about, and he talked about God being in the space of mystery and how there is mystery that we just sometimes will never be able to explain, and to be able to trust in him and not try to give explanation and not try to give description to it if you don't understand it.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes if we see a miracle happen for one person, but not another, we're like, oh, well, it's your faith.
Yeah.
We like to blame things or at least place responsibility on things to explain why it didn't work, as opposed to saying, I don't know why it didn't work this time.
Right.
And I think that happened for her and that happened for us of we didn't know why we were infertile. We don't know why we're not having the baby. We've been praying, we've been seeking God, but it's easier for people, instead of saying, I don't understand and I don't know why God would allow this, I don't know why God wouldn't fix this, or maybe there are other factors, but instead of saying that, they'll just say, it's probably you.
And I think that's the thing, is that we really try, and I was actually talking to my cousin about this recently, is that we really try to make miracles or situations reality to us, when this is not. It is a spiritual world that is happening around us, but we try to make it make sense in our normal brains of like why this is happening. Like if you talk to somebody about, about Taylor's miracle, she's going to share that story. It's incredible, but there's a miracle that we know about. But if you tell that to a regular person, they would say, oh, well, the doctor's messed up.
And explain it away. Yeah.
They like, oh, well, the doctors get things wrong all the time. But no, it was a miracle. And I think sometimes that we, in our brains, we don't really recognize that, or try to make it make sense in our head of why this happened, and not really relate it to God. Not say that this was God. Or the times that we don't know anything, can we just be okay with, okay, well, I'm not sure how this is supposed to happen. I'm not sure why this happened, but can I still trust him anyway? And I think that's where I struggled with heavy.
It's a point where I get nervous about that. I get nervous that sometimes I shy away from making decisions in my heart of what it was God and what wasn't God. And I become apprehensive to do that because I don't want to mislabel things as God that wasn't.
But then you just get stuck.
But then you get stuck. And I feel like that's where I've been. I've been in that place of, I don't want to say it was God and it wasn't, or I don't want to say it wasn't God, but it really was. And in my finite thinking, limit him. But at the same time, if you operate like that, then where is your faith? What do we attribute and give God the glory for? It's like, there's something in my subconscious that always feels like, well, have I seen the end of the story play out yet? And I think that's definitely true in what happened to us with our miscarriage. I was going to say,
I actually felt that you were really strong on who God was during
I am on that. That's a different point though. That's a different topic in my mind.
Let's talk about it, because I feel like with infertility, I felt like you were very, like, I felt like my spirituality was very rocked after the miscarriage. Your spirituality stayed on, like, I know who God is. I don't know why this happened, but we're okay.
Well, why don't you explain the backstory first?
With the miscarriage?
Just with the miscarriage. Let's just keep it to that. Where were we at in the process and timing and give a little backstory.
Sorry for those who have heard this 1,000 times, but it helps for those that are new. But we were in the middle of IVF. We have been infertile for
5 years at that
5
point.
years at that point. And we went through IVF once with Asa, and then we were going through IVF twice with Elijah. Now, mind you, we gave God like a year for us.
That sounds terrible.
I mean,
You've got a year, Lord. And
it wasn't. I will say, I did not have a timeline. I wasn't thinking that we had a year. In my mind, I'm like, we're just going to see. Honestly, I wasn't sure if it was going to be 6 months. Like, I just kind of kept going. And the next thing you know, I look up and Asa's 3.
She was 2.
It was 2.
Yeah.
So it's been a year, and I'm like, okay, well, God, are you releasing me from this time? Do you think I need to do IVF? And we felt peace about doing IVF.
The second time, yeah.
Right. Once we did IVF, we ended up having to take a break for some reason. Like we were about to
traveling, I think.
Yeah, we were about to do the transfer. And right when we were about to do the transfer, we got naturally pregnant for the first time, like ever. We have never gotten naturally pregnant.
So keep this in mind. We've already done multiple appointments, multiple shots for like those 10 days straight. We've done a surgery or two in the process. We extracted all the embryo or all the eggs. The eggs and the sperm are now coming together. They've formed embryos. We know which ones are good. Like we've gone through all of this process to have our second child. And in the middle of that process, we find out we got naturally pregnant. Like we had literally scheduled the transfer.
It was wild. But I think what's interesting is in between that time, which we don't talk about, is when stuff like that happens, the uproar of people are it is almost too much. And to know me, I am not a person that likes, it's not that I don't like excitement, because I do get excited for my friends, but when I am still trying to figure out what God is doing and what's happening with me, the worst thing you can do is tell a bunch of people who are like super excited immediately, because I kind of curl in. I'm trying to figure it out.
I don't think it was just the excitement. I think it was the excitement, but it was also, you told a bunch of spiritual people. And spiritual people, I mean, like even myself was like, I blame me too. Not blame, but I'll take accountability too. Of like, this is a miracle.
Honestly, it could have been anybody for me. You know how I am with like super excite. Like when you're super excited or you're moving too high for me, it is too much when I am still trying to process it. Like even when I told Brian that I was pregnant, I remember like I wasn't excited. I was in shock. And I was like, what is God doing? My first question was, what is God doing?
Yeah. Lexi, to your detriment and to your your, I don't know, pro and con, it's at the same time, is you refrain sometimes from emotionally getting invested in something if you don't know exactly how it's going to pan out.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a good thing and it's a bad thing. And in this case, it was tough because you're like, I don't know what's happening here. I want to figure that out before I get invested. I'm over here like, we know exactly what's happening.
Yeah, like this is a miracle from God. This is a miracle from God. Like this was real. This was, you know, people were so excited. And then we're telling people super early, because now I have transitioned and kind of fell into where everybody else was at. Even when I didn't know that for myself. I didn't know what was going on. I kind of leaned into what everybody else was feeling. And I remember that. And I was like, okay, this is a miracle. Now I'm all in.
It was almost like you got positively peer pressured into like acceptance and excitement and joy, maybe even before you were ready for it.
Which honestly is not a bad thing when you're trying to lift your faith, when you're trying to figure out like, or really trying to believe in something. And I don't know if I necessarily regret that. I just know that that's what happened. And when I got to the point where I was like, okay, I am in, it's like I connected with that baby immediately. I started protecting it. I started to make sure that everything was okay. I started to be mindful, more mindful than I've ever been in a pregnancy of a baby inside me.
Yeah. And probably a week after you got to that point, you went to the doctor for the first ultrasound. And for whatever reason, you scheduled it at a time that I couldn't make it. I had a really important meeting. And so I was like, babe, can we just please reschedule? Like, no, it's okay. Like, I'm going to go check on the baby. I'm really excited. I just want to do it. I want to see him, you know, or her, whoever. And you go to the ultrasound with my mom, and that's where you found out they cannot find the baby and there's no heartbeat.
Yeah. And long story short, like it took a few weeks for them to really confirm that we had to do a DNC. And that was wild and, you know, very heartbreaking to do a DNC. I wish that on nobody. But it was very difficult. And it wasn't just a week. It was weeks, because
it was a week to your first ultrasound, but then it was multiple weeks.
No, I'm saying from the time that I got pregnant to the time that I went to the ultrasound, it was weeks, because I was 7 weeks pregnant.
Yeah, I was talking about, clarify, I was talking about from the point where you finally like accepted and were excited about it.
Yeah, I would say it wasn't. No,
really?
I would say that I got excited. I want to say the first I would say the first week after I told people, like I
Oh,
was,
okay.
yeah, like
I
once we
thought you were
started
still
telling
struggling.
people, I was like, okay, I need to have faith like everybody else. Like I need to do this. So I'm going to do it.
Okay.
And so I went in. I was, all of the tests were coming back and, I remember us recording the call, like all of that. But it was just, I think the reason why it rocked me so hard because I've never experienced grief to that extent or heartbreak with God. Like I was heartbroken by God because in my, I'm going to say minute thinking, I could not find a reason why this wouldn't be the great story. Like, what other story would there be as far as why this didn't work?
Yeah. What's the plan with this? Like, how are you using this for your good? I thought we had a surefire testimony here, Lord.
I thought this was fire.
This miracle was a dope miracle, and I would be happy to be the receiver of it. Like we were 5 years infertile. Really, at that point, we had, I won't say given up on a natural conception, but it wasn't even like a thought at that point. We're like,
Yeah.
it is what it is. If this is how are we going to have babies? This is how we're going to have babies. We had accepted it. We moved on. We didn't even ask for it anymore.
Yeah.
So to be in that point and you just give us this blessing out of nowhere, this miracle is fire.
Yeah.
This is going to bring people to Christ. Like this is going to heal the masses.
You're going to hear this story everywhere, but honestly, I can't say why it didn't happen, but I know for a fact that this has strengthened my relationship. And honestly, I felt like there was I almost had to break my relationship and kind of reform it again and reconfigure it and like figure out, okay, well that needed to go. I don't know where that came from, or, dealing with, what I really viewed about God. And I saw this other reel that was very, very good and talked about the truth of how I felt because I couldn't really put into words how I felt. And one of the things that she mentioned was when tragedy hits, then the truth about what you really feel about God is revealed. Like, if you do everything right, then, you are supposed to have a comfortable life. And as much as I didn't want to believe that, I know that I did because when tragedy hit enough, not like situations that you can handle. This situation I could not handle. And I did not lean on God. And it made me think that God is not good. That I'm not sure if he's good. I don't know anymore. And I could not hide that truth anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And the scary part is now I have to come with terms with how I feel about God. And do I really know him?
That is powerful. It's powerful on so many levels. But one of the biggest things that I hear you talking about through that is without crises, without tragedy, without loss, without hardship, there's so many things in our subconscious that we're not even aware of.
It's so true.
Belief systems that we thought were strong pillars that held up our philosophies and outlook on life. Those pillars are actually a lot shakier than you may even know until something comes and tests it and applies pressure to it. Mm-hmm. You could be rocked and not have a clue what happened and why.
And the crazy thing is, to me, is there's been tragedy. I've had tragedy. There's been loss. And going through IVF the first time was extremely hard, but I felt like God gave me the grace for it. Like I felt like my foundation was getting hit and I was like, up, standing strong. Okay, I'm going to hit her this way, up, standing strong. And it's almost like the enemy was finding these points to see where I would go, like what would happen. And not to say that God, did this on purpose, but I do believe that everything does work out for his good. But I do believe that sometimes you think like, I can handle it. and I'm handling on my, what I know about God and all of these things. But then there's something that is just like it can knock you down. And I think this was one of those things that knocked me down.
Because I think you talked about like tragedy. You've had other tragedies, but I don't know every single one that you're thinking about. But I feel like the large majority can be explained away of why it happened.
That is
Either
very true.
the person who lost their life was involved in some things that they shouldn't have been involved in, or someone was just older, or someone health wasn't good, or like it felt like there was a reasonable explanation of how this happened.
But infertility wasn't that. I don't know why.
I'm not talking about infertility.
But I'm saying in infertility, I was still like, okay, well, we're infertile. And, okay. I think that there's levels of tragedy that can just knock people out. It doesn't matter what it is. I think that it can just knock people out. When you are just not expecting to have a baby this way, that's heavy. When you have to take all of these medications and it makes you feel like you're crazy, like that's hard for people.
It's very hard.
It's just that wasn't my like knockout.
Mm-hmm.
This was my knockout. And other people, this may not have been their knockout like it was for you. It wasn't your knockout. For me, this was my knockout.
I think that there's a level of, the only term I can think of why I think it could have been a knockout or was as difficult as it was, is because it almost felt like cruelty from God as opposed to goodness. And there's certain things that I think we talk and we're taught the rhetoric of God is good and, all these different components of allowing bad things to happen. But when it feels like something cruel and unexplainable happens to an innocent being,
Yeah.
and it's like for you, I think it was just a different level of trying to reconcile this concept with who you know God to be. And it felt like you just couldn't find how they came together.
I don't know if cruel is the word for me. I think that it was just unexplainable.
Okay.
I think that with IVF, I see so many benefits, and I'm thankful for going through the journey because I can help other people through the journey.
Mm-hmm.
With that part, I know that it's been great to talk about, but I don't feel, again, I guess I don't feel man, I'm so thankful that I could help people, or I'm so thankful that I could be there. Just to be completely transparent, it's hard to see. I know why that happened for me personally. And I know that, not even know why it happened for me. I know that it has helped me with my relationship with God. I was able to pick up the pieces from it.
IVF or
Agree. The
loss?
The loss.
Okay.
But after that, I think that's why there's still remnants of like trust and protection that sometimes I have to work out in my mind, because I feel like that's how the enemy has been attacking. That's what it was. I felt unprotected. That baby was a person to me that I was very close with. And I felt like it was unprotected. And so now, well, what else is unprotected? What else is not safe? And so with this, what I've been working through is making sure that even though I have these feelings of feeling unprotected with God, I have to remind myself, and I actually say scriptures out loud, that I know who you are. Like, you are my protector. You are my provider. Like you fight for me. And it's one of those things where it feels like sometimes that I am battling like I am in a war zone with my mind, because I've never felt unprotected from God. Oh, this makes me, I never felt unprotected from God until that moment. And I know that he protects me, but it didn't feel like it. It just didn't feel like it.
It's a big conversation of the battle we have between our emotions and our mind, or what we know about God versus what we feel about God.
Yeah.
I think that we both have been in spaces in our life or in seasons in our lives that we try to match up what we're feeling with what we know.
Mm-hmm.
And it is truly like a war between our emotions. Like, what is reality?
Yeah.
right now. What is the reality? Is it what I'm feeling? Is what I'm feeling true, or is what I know true? And your feelings now make you question things that you thought you knew. And now it's like, well, did I not know it? Is it not really the way? Is there a different level of understanding? And it's
Yeah.
just like this war between the two that you're trying to go through, and be okay with, I may not feel what I should be feeling.
Yes.
I may not feel good about this at all, but I know who he is, and I will not give up on that. I will not compromise that for anything.
Yes. And that's I mean, I get very militant with my thoughts and my feelings and what I know about God because one, I can't just deny everything that he's done for me. And I can't deny every time that he's protected me in times that I didn't. I see that picture of God kind of like stretching out his hand and you see those rocks coming in and then you see that one rock come
Little
past.
rock.
And he was like, God, why? God, why? And he was like,
He's
sorry,
like,
did I miss one
Bro,
out of the hundreds?
what's your problem?
Like I remember I visualize that a lot when I am thinking about that time. And that was a hard rock for me, but I know that he's protected me in so many ways. Ones that I know and ones that I don't, and the times that I don't. But I trust him in that. And because I trust him and I'm making a decision to trust him, my feelings are fleeting. But what I know about God stays the same. So I get very militant. And I see that feeling of being unprotected going away. Like it's not as big as it was, 2 years ago or whatever. But it's still something that I battle. I think about that when I think about relationship. Me and you, like, we're not going to always be like, oh my gosh, happy go getty and
Absolutely
always
not.
like having these feelings of, I just want to be with you all the time. We have hard moments, but what I know about you to be true is that you will work to be better. And every day you're working to be better each and every day. And maybe sometimes we miss that. I know sometimes we miss that, but I go in my mind of what I know to be true about you.
I mean, love is a decision. We all know that.
Yeah.
Love is not a feeling. It's not a feeling by itself. It's not a feeling alone. The
Yeah.
feeling of love will not help a marriage endure. It will not help a relationship endure. You have to have a decision that is made that I will love you. It's also the same with knowing who the person that you're with is and not questioning that every time they do something that doesn't seem to match up or align with that, or not questioning that every time you don't feel good about a conversation you had.
Yeah.
And I think that relationally, that's just critical. And so with your relationship with God, that component was vital
Yeah.
for you to maintain your relationship with God. Because I never did I get nervous about your relationship with God being rocked. It was just like, how are you going to come out of this processing it? How is your viewpoint or vantage point going to shift? Is
Why
it going to
why
change?
weren't you concerned? Because I was in a dark place.
Because as much as your subconscious thought maybe not have been exposed until then of like you questioning God's goodness, I just believe that there has been such a deposit in your life from God over too long a time and too much depth to this deposit that he's put in you for me to be concerned that you were going to walk away or get rocked too much from this one thing.
Yeah.
I didn't see this as your breaking point. I didn't see this as, even though it felt like a knockout, I didn't see it as a breaking point. I didn't see it as something you would not recover from. I just saw it as something that you're going to have to go through. I saw it like this is a journey that you're going to have to go through.
Yeah. I think that, which we've talked about in, YouTube videos, is how we manage that time. And my question is, what do you think you would change?
I don't want to answer your questions about this topic.
Well, here we go. What do you think you would change about that season when it comes to us?
That season was so unique for us because, again, a little repetitive for anyone who's heard this before, but for those who haven't, we were on the same page for probably 2 to 3 weeks as far as how we grieved. We were grieving together. And it was actually a very intimate experience for us.
It was very intimate.
It was extremely intimate. It brought us closer together relationally. That tragedy, we leaned on each other and we were comforting each other. We were consoling each other. And it was very beautiful.
Yeah.
Until I started to recover from that grief. And that kind of marked a changing point because, as Lexi said, I had a different, just a different process. So the challenge with our relationship was now I'm kind of through and I'm feeling good again. You were not.
Yeah.
And so I really struggled with my level of empathy and support of you in that season because I was kind of it sounds horrible to say, but subconsciously I was kind of like, I got through it. Aren't you done? Like, if we're just being honest, that's kind of like how I was thinking. Well, when are you going to get up? I'm up. We went through it together. We were there together.
Yeah.
This was my baby too. I got up. Why didn't you? And it was this subconscious thought. Why am I saying subconscious so many times today? There's a lot of subconscious stuff going on. But I was defining empathy as looking at your situation, imagining myself in your situation, and thinking, how would I handle that? And then assessing you or judging you based on how I would handle it.
Yeah.
And it took multiple conversations over the course of weeks for you to sit me down. I remember we were at the dining room table and you sat me down and you asked me how I define empathy. And I was like, why are you asking me this question? And I remember telling you, and you were like, that's not empathy.
Yeah.
That's not the definition. The definition of empathy is you looking at my situation and knowing who I am, knowing what my fears are, knowing what my strengths are, what my weaknesses are, what my trauma is, how my personality is shaped, knowing all the things about me. It's looking at my situation and saying, how would she handle this?
Yeah.
How is she processing this right now? I had to get outside of myself and put myself in your shoes.
Yeah.
And not just like the phrase of your shoes, but like literally, I am Lexi, and knowing what I know about Lexi, how am I looking at this situation?
And knowing that you can't possibly do that fully, but trying to empathize and knowing what you at least have, the percentage that you do know about me.
Yeah. It wasn't until that point that I started to go, oh, wow, I've been pretty callous. I've been just non-supportive. I was just trying to push you to get out of it.
Yeah, like, come on, like, we got to do this. Like, you know.
I thought I was helping.
Go out. Yeah. And I saw that you were, but at the end of the day, it was kind of like,
you don't get
that's not what I need. I need to grieve. I need to process. I'm not going to get up the way that I'm getting up. I'm not moving the way that I usually move. And you have to accept this space that I'm in right now. And it wasn't like I was sitting there forever. Like, I was still getting help. I was talking to, we were getting therapy. But I knew that I needed more time, more than what you needed.
Yeah. And I think once I got that, it started to help us.
Yeah.
It helped us kind of work through what does support look like in this season? What does it look like for you? And not judging or condemning you for questioning God. I don't think I did.
No,
but I think
not
during
at all.
that season, it was like, this is what it was, a level of sensitivity. I was not being sensitive to the space you were in.
Yeah.
I was just I kind of went back to just how things were, making jokes, doing this, doing that. When you were in grief and I was in grief, we were both being very sensitive to each other.
Yes.
So I got back to that place of sensitivity of, okay, now I know where you're at. Like, let's handle it accordingly.
We can stay here. No, that's true. And I think we got out of it in such a better space because we knew how to handle stuff in these times. So now when things, situations happen, I feel like we know how to handle each other and hold each other together.
It makes me think like, okay, there's all these things that have happened in our relationship that each time we have matured, developed, and grown and everything. And I'm like, what's the next big thing that we're going to have to go through? Oof. Like what is, I really do sit there and question that sometimes.
I do think about our next thing probably would be and this is unfortunate.
Don't claim it. Don't put it out there.
I'm
Wait a
saying
minute.
like we have to handle, as our parents get older, we have to get get prepared for how we, not say get prepared like it's going to happen tomorrow. That will not happen in Jesus' name, but like getting prepared for big things, you know? I remember there was a comedian that said, nobody talks to you about you being like in your 50s and your parent, you know, people's parents start passing.
Yeah.
Like I can't even, like when I tell you my brain can't even
Wrap itself around.
Like my friends, like family members that we know would pass and how to be there and support or supporting each other during that time while also having kids who know our parents. Like that's heavy.
It is heavy. I don't want to think about it right now.
I don't want to either.
I think that's the problem. We probably just gonna push it off until it happens. But,
We wave at those thoughts as they pass by.
but I really do. Like, I don't want to claim what season we're gonna go through next that's difficult or anything like that. But I also think one thing I was having a conversation with one of my friends the other day. You look really funny yawning.
I know I was yawning.
Wait. You were trying to hold it in.
I was trying to hold it in.
Lexi was like,
Look, I kept it in so hard I started tearing up.
why do I do that too, though? If I'm in a meeting and I have to yawn, I'm like, the faces that you make. Oh, I'm sorry. That threw me off. Oh, that's funny. Okay. So, but I was having a conversation with a friend the other day and we were talking about this and I'm like, you know, I think that something that God showed me personally was, I feel like a general life hack, which is look at where God is trying to take you in your walk, in your life. Look at the future, look down the road and see who is the man that I feel I am called to be.
Yeah.
And what does my character look like in that place? What does my environment look like in that place? What does my community look like in that place? What does my purpose look like in that place? And look at where you are going, look at where you are today, and the gap is what's going to have to be tested. The gap is what's going to have to be tried, and the gap is what's going to have to be drawn out of you for you to grow to get to that place.
Yeah.
So if I know where I'm going and I know what I'm missing to get there, then I can start preparing for something in my life is going to happen to develop that thing.
Yeah.
If I struggle with holding on to my finances as my source of security and identity, but I want to be someone who gives it all to Christ, well, he may come after your money. Like,
and I don't want that out. Look, let me, I will always check and that's the thing. I don't feel like that God has to bring tragedy or situations and let that happen.
No.
I just believe we can also just learn to be better.
That's what I was telling him too. I was like,
we don't need to do all that.
Prepare for these things. I want to embrace the things that I know I need to change proactively.
Yeah.
So tragedy doesn't have to come to get that out of me.
Yeah.
Let me humble myself now. Let me hit the floor now.
Yes. Agreed.
I think one of the most important, I don't say most important, but one of the important things that you did say and mention that I would like you to kind of expound upon just a little bit is that you wanted me to support you as you go through the process and not try to rush the process. I feel like I'm someone who can rush the process. I feel like you are very good at not only with yourself, but with other people around you sitting in spaces for a while. You're good with not trying to find a solution to things. You're good with just saying, I'm just going to be here with you. I'm going to show friendship right now. I'm just going to show support. I'm just going to be a shoulder to cry on. I'm not as good at those things. I'm like trying to naturally find how can I make this person feel better and what can I do? And like all that. But how in your process of going through grief, how do you feel like you were able to just sit in it until the time and space for healing happen?
I think the difference is that you're taught to teach. You're taught to be like you have been taught to be like
Me specifically.
Yeah. You specifically have been taught to teach and to mentor and to, you know, do these big things as far as like, yeah, you're coming to me and I think sometimes you immediately think that you need to have an answer. I have been taught, especially being in social work, I've been taught that I want my first initial thing is I want people to feel safe. I just want people to feel safe. I don't want my first thing. And then if you feel safe to talk to me, then I can also open up, okay, my next level is like, can I give thought? But if you just want to stop at safety, then I'm okay with you staying at safety.
This is this is really good. I'm really blessed by that.
Really?
I am. That is.
Are you
I've never heard you describe it like that.
Really?
This is like touching my soul right now. It is making me wow. Yeah, that is. Sheesh.
Why are you crying?
I'm not
What?
crying.
Oh, I want to say you look like you're
No.
tearing up.
No, it's literally just water in my eye. But no, but that is so beautiful.
No, thanks.
To say that I love you enough that I don't have to be the one who has the answer.
No.
I don't have to be the one that picks you up. I don't have to be any role. I don't have to do anything. I just want you to feel safe, whether it's me or someone else. I just want literally whatever's best for you in that situation. Like, that's true love. That's true friendship.
Yeah, and I also think that, and because I remember there was a grief therapist that said this, which I appreciated this so much. A lot of people want to know what to ask people when they are dealing with tragedy, where they're dealing with, real deep hurt. Maybe they lost their dad, they lost their mom, like real grief, right? And they said a lot of times people say, is there anything you need? Like, what can I do for you? And a lot of times people that are dealing with grief, they don't say like, yeah, I actually need this. Very few people say like, yeah, I actually need this.
No idea what they want.
So instead of asking that, you can say, tell me about him. Tell me how she was when she was here. Talk to me about, like, bring in the level of, you can talk about these feelings that you have, and I'm strong enough where I can sit in it. It won't make me uncomfortable. And I think when people see that, then it leaves room for you to be a safe person that they can go to. I don't always go to people unless I don't really know you, say like, what do you need? When I'm talking to people, when they're dealing with hard situations, it's almost like I want to hear your thoughts. So I ask questions of open-ended questions to just help you share your feelings.
I am captivated right now. And I have to be honest, you become even more of a beautiful person when I hear you talking like this.
Really?
It is so it's another topic, but this is really blessing me. I know we've had these conversations before about grief and sitting in spaces. So the concept is not new to me, but the way you're talking about it is really beautiful. I don't know another word for it, but I think that that's something that I definitely struggle with people in general, with friendships, of when you're in an awkward place.
Yeah.
Awkward place. Grief is an awkward place for most people. They don't know how to handle people. I was that person. I probably still at 50% level am that person.
A lot of people.
Fully feeling comfortable sitting in that space with someone and not trying to just create conversation, because I don't always know, like, well, does this person want me to get their attention away from it to help them breathe? Does this person want me to ask about it? But what if that hurts them because now they're talking about it? They don't want to talk about it. Like, I don't know how to navigate those conversations as opposed to just sitting and being and letting that just happen. And sometimes not even talking, especially if you have a relationship with this person. But I think in general, that's something with a lot of friendships that I can see so many times, that people have not built relational equity in a relationship to be able to speak into their lives. People do, and I will accuse myself of this primarily in my past. People just want to say something, just tell you what to do, just speak into your life, but you haven't developed relational equity to do so.
Yeah.
And so your words are falling on deaf ears.
Yeah. And it's so crazy because I just, it's a blessing that I'm always learning and growing on how to be in these spaces with all different types of people, because I really like to learn. But sometimes they don't always, it's not like this is a math equation that you can get. It's more
Very
of
nuanced.
a dance. It's like I'm trying to figure out what step is going to make you come closer to me, in a sense of like, you can trust me, like, come here, but let me give you a hug. But it's sometimes maybe it's not talking about the situation. If you cut it off, nope, okay, well, I can sit here with you. You know, you want me to sit here with you? Yeah, okay, I'll sit here with you. And then to hold a hand, you know, just be. And not sometimes when you're like holding somebody's hand, like you're like this and you don't know what to do. So you're like,
Fidgety.
and you're like, well, when do I stop holding her hand? Do I stop? You know, and it's just like, I'm here. I can just hold your hand.
I think just even in our relationship, some of the most beautiful moments we have is when we're not talking.
Yeah.
Just being together, just being next to each other. Some of the hardest moments there's healing in that. Some of the best moments, the most happy moments, there's joy in that.
Yeah.
But I think it's uncomfortable sometimes.
Absolutely. But I think I have learned to sit in uncomfortability and I love it.
I hope to
love
get
it.
better at that. I really am
You have gotten so much better, babe. I promise you.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that. I really do feel like you've gotten a lot better in sitting in uncomfortability and being there for people in a unique way.
I want to. Like, that is a muscle I'm trying to work out. I'm trying to feel good about sitting in those places and knowing how to navigate properly. That sometimes I used to say things that made me feel good about what I'm doing instead of thinking about what am I doing to make them feel good.
Yeah.
Like, it makes me feel good to be like, what do you need? I'll do anything. You want food? You want this? I'll run errands for you. I'll do this. It makes me feel good. Like I'm doing my part.
Like I said it. That's what a lot of people feel that.
And I'm also willing to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? I'm not just saying it to say it and feeling like, okay, I'm good. I'm also willing to do these things and sacrifice for this person, but those things make me feel good as opposed to really sitting and taking time to say, what will make this person feel good?
Yeah. And not letting somebody think like, I need to tell this person what I need. I don't know what I need. Sometimes it is not rocket science that if somebody loses something, maybe drop off food. If you're not a good cooker, give a DoorDash card. Like, it's just simple stuff that makes people feel like I didn't need to ask. I just did.
I saw Matthias Barker. He had a video the other day where he was talking about how to help someone in a state of depression. And he said, the worst thing you can do with someone who's depressed is to ask them how they feel today. He's like, because they already feel bad. Now they feel bad for explaining that they still feel bad.
Yeah.
He's like, because what are they going to say? Like, yep, it's been 3 months and still depressed. Like, still feel like crap. Just another day in the same spot. Like, now they feel bad, like, or there's like an awkward space now because they have to explain why they're still in the same spot they've been. He was like, instead of doing that, go over to their house and tell them you'd like to cook for them. Or you have a game that you want to share. Or just go over there and watch a movie so that they don't have to feel like they have to do something to please you and make you feel like they're getting better. They can just stay in the space that they're in, but you're sharing that space and you're being with them and feeling that comfort and support. I was like, that's good.
That is good.
Because I used to be the person like, how you feeling, man? You doing okay?
I mean, I think that we're all, first of all, I would say that as great as I may sound, I think that I still struggle with that sometimes. Like, I may ask people, like, how are you feeling today?
It's a gut reaction.
And I don't know, but I will say most of the time I don't always know if you're depressed or not. So I think that's also different. But it's like I need to figure out new and some different kind of ways to check on somebody.
I like how you're still holding my hand. No, girl, don't let it go now.
I'm done.
You know, one of the things that I will say is that you have probably heard Lexi and I think I've counted 4 times in this video citing different videos that we've watched or heard people say.
We do watch a lot of videos.
A lot of people will ask us, like, how are we building this level of maturity, especially as young people, to be insightful and all of these things. And we hope that we're being that. That's what we feel like we have been called to be and do. But there is so much work and research and time spent listening to experts, listening to people that are experts in their field, whether it be spiritual, whether it be social work, whether it be counseling, emotional maturity, marriage, whatever the case may be. we really spend time. And I hope that this podcast is some of how you're spending that time developing yourself. But that is one of my recommendations just in general, is to follow people and follow resources that are experts in their fields, and that you can really develop a full scale character overhaul of building up yourself, and not just doing the typical things. Right. So
that's good. It's really good. Well, guys, we talked about a lot. And I'm just so thankful for you guys being with us. I feel like we just jumped to different topics today.
That's what podcasts are for.
I was about to say, we just jumped to we jumped in different pockets, gave a little bit, took it back. But I appreciate all of you. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And let us know what you think in the comments. Tell us how you feel about all these topics: infertility,
grief, depression,
empathy, depression. Sheesh, who's up? But we love you guys. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.